Imagine being cast adrift in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. No land, no rescue, just an endless horizon of water. Now imagine surviving like that, completely alone, for 133 days. No radio, no engine, no certainty that you'll live to see another human being again. This is the true, almost unbelievable story of Poon Lim, a man who endured one of the longest solo survival experiences at sea in recorded history. His story is not just one of survival, but of incredible ingenuity, discipline, and the sheer will to live. Poon Lim was born in Hainan, China in 1918. His early life was modest, his family wasn't wealthy, and like many young boys in his province, he left school at a young age to work with his father. In 1938, when the Japanese invasion of China escalated into the Second Sino-Japanese War, life in China became more unstable. Seeking safety and opportunity, Poon Lim joined his two brothers and left for Hong Kong. There, he found work with the British Merchant Navy, a fleet that carried supplies and goods across the oceans during both peace and wartime. By the early 1940s, World War II was raging across Europe and the Pacific. The oceans were battlegrounds. German submarines, or U-boats, prowled the Atlantic, targeting Allied merchant ships to cut off supply chains. Merchant vessels were frequently attacked, and thousands of sailors lost their lives. Despite the danger, Poon Lim took another assignment. In 1942, he was stationed as a second steward on a British ship called the SS Benlaman. The Benlaman was a slow, unarmed merchant ship. It was built to carry goods, not to fight. In November 1942, it was making a journey from Cape Town, South Africa, to Suriname in South America, traveling alone, without convoy protection. That decision proved fatal. On November 23, 1942, disaster struck. In the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean, a German U-boat, U-172, spotted the Benlaman. Without warning, it fired a torpedo. The torpedo slammed into the side of the ship, causing an immediate and devastating explosion. Within 2 minutes, the entire ship sank beneath the waves. There was no time for distress signals, lifeboats, or coordinated escape. Most of the 54 crew members on board were either killed instantly or drowned. But Poon Lim, by sheer luck or fate, survived. Thrown into the cold Atlantic waters, he managed to grab hold of a life jacket. Fighting waves in fear, he spotted a small wooden life raft floating nearby, about 8 feet square, with just a few provisions and a few barrels of water. Exhausted and soaked, he pulled himself aboard. And just like that, Poon Lim was alone in one of the most dangerous places on Earth, the open sea. He had no way of steering the raft, no radio to call for help, no idea where he was. He didn't know if anyone else had survived. He didn't know if anyone even knew the ship had gone down. His only option was to survive for as long as he could. The raft contained a few items: a can of condensed milk, some dry biscuits, a couple of flares, a flashlight, and a tin of sugar cubes. That was it. These supplies wouldn't last more than a few days, but Poon Lim wasn't about to give up. He immediately began planning. He rationed the biscuits and condensed milk. He used canvas from the raft sail to collect rainwater when it came. He fashioned a fishing hook out of a bent nail and used wire from his flashlight as fishing line. For bait, he used bits of cloth or even insects that landed on the raft. Eventually, he began catching small fish, eating them raw to preserve every ounce of moisture and nutrition. As the days passed, he improved his survival tactics. He caught seagulls that landed on the raft and drank their blood to stay hydrated when it didn't rain. He used the bird entrails as bait for fish. He even managed to kill a small shark using parts of it for both food and bait. During the day, the sun scorched his skin. He built a small shelter from canvas to protect himself from sunstroke. At night, the temperature dropped sharply. Saltwater sores covered his body. His lips cracked, his hands blistered from fishing lines and the sharp work of preparing food. He tied himself to the raft while he slept to avoid being tossed overboard by a wave. Storms came and went. Massive waves threatened to overturn the raft, but he hung on. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Several ships passed him during those long months. Once an American ship sailed close by. He fired a flare. He waved his arms. He shouted. But the ship didn't stop. Another time, a German U-boat surfaced nearby. The crew saw him, but they didn't help. Some believe they may have thought it was a trap, or perhaps they simply chose to leave him. Can you imagine the crushing disappointment? The hope that rises when you see help only to be ignored, left to drift again? But Poon Lim never gave up. Every day he worked to stay alive. Every day he believed he could make it one more day. He kept a routine. He exercised on the raft by stretching his limbs. He cleaned the raft regularly to avoid illness. He made knots in rope to keep track of time. Although after weeks at sea, the days began to blur. But he never stopped believing that he would one day reach land. Then on April 5th, 1943, 133 days after his ship had sunk, he saw something. Land, Brazil. A group of fishermen off the coast spotted a strange shape in the water. As they approached, they saw a man, emaciated, sunburned, weak but alive, sitting on a makeshift raft. Poon Lim was rescued. When he was brought ashore, he could barely walk. He had lost more than 20 kilograms, almost 45 pounds. He was hospitalized and treated for malnutrition, sunburn, and saltwater sores. But mentally, he was alert. He remembered everything. When his story became public, the world was stunned. No one in modern history had survived alone at sea for so long. The British government awarded him the British Empire Medal. King George VI himself acknowledged his incredible survival. The Royal Navy even used his story to revise their survival manuals and life raft equipment. They studied his methods for water collection, food gathering, and mental resilience. After the war, Poon Lim emigrated to the United States and became a U.S. citizen. When asked how he managed to survive, he often replied humbly, "I hope no one will ever have to do what I did." He passed away in 1991, but his story remains one of the most incredible tales of human survival ever recorded. Today, Poon Lim's 133-day ordeal still stands as the world record for the longest time a person has survived alone on a life raft in the open ocean. His legacy is not just that he survived, but that he did so with incredible resourcefulness, mental strength, and sheer determination. In a world where so many people give up when things become difficult, Poon Lim teaches us that hope is a weapon, that routine is a strategy, that resilience isn't about strength but persistence. He had no reason to believe he would be found, and yet he believed anyway. He didn't have perfect tools or training, but he adapted, experimented, and learned each and every day. 133 days, alone, against the sea, against sharks, against starvation, against despair, and still he survived.